Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi and a very good morning. On behalf of ISIS Malaysia and the ASEAN ISIS Network, it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the 39th Asia-Pacific Roundtable. Now, for 39 years, the Asia-Pacific Roundtable has occupied a unique place in our region's strategic landscape. It has been a platform for reflection, debate, disagreement, and even consensus, but usually followed again by disagreement. It began as a modest gathering of scholars, policymakers, practitioners, seeking to better understand the forces shaping the Asia-Pacific. Today, it has become one of the region's most dynamic and consistent track 2 platforms. That longevity is not accidental. It is a product of the commitment, generosity of time, and intellectual courage of many individuals and institutions, many of whom are with us today. To all of them, we owe a debt of gratitude. Friends, this year's theme, Accelerating Agency and Action, builds naturally on the conversations we have had over the past 2 years. In a world where the international order remains uncertain, the challenge of regional actors is not simply to balance principles and pragmatism, but to preserve and exercise agency. Agency here is demonstrated not by reacting to external pressures, but by shaping outcomes through deliberate choices, collective action, and strategic engagement. For ASEAN and the wider region, this begins with strengthening internal capacities and resilience at both the national and regional levels, ensuring the consistent delivery of public goods regardless of global shocks or geopolitical uncertainty. Now, while complex interdependence and linkages may require an artful balance between principles and pragmatism, greater resilience will give states the confidence and capability to engage increasingly from a position of strength founded on fundamentals. Ultimately, the aspiration for us should not be merely to adapt to a changing order, but to possess the agency, the heft, and ultimately the conviction to help define it. For the past several years, our conversations at the Asia-Pacific Roundtable have been animated by a common question. How should the region respond to a world that appears increasingly fragmented and unpredictable? We have studied and analyzed a period marked by strategic flux, where what used to be time-honored assumptions about order, stability, and power no longer seemed valid. We have engaged in vibrant discourse about the adjustments and flexibilities needed to navigate an increasingly dynamic geopolitical landscape. Yet, there comes a point when adaptation alone doesn't quite cut it. The challenge before us today is not simply how to respond to change, but how to shape it. This is why the question of agency has become so pivotal. Agency is often spoken of as though it is privilege afforded to great powers. But for many countries, particularly those in our region, agency is not an entitlement. It is a necessity. It is founded in the ability to expand strategic options, to preserve autonomy amidst competing pressures, and to act with purpose even when circumstances are less than ideal. States, in that sense, are not merely passive subjects of history. They are also its authors, where once our narratives were written by the victors and geopolitical powers that be. Today, we have to take it upon ourselves to chronicle our own paths and destinies. Nevertheless, the extent to which we exercise influence, individually and collectively, depends ultimately on our willingness and capacity to act. It's carpe diem. We must take the current when it serves or lose our ventures. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, over the coming days, we will examine where such agency can be exercised and how it might be translated into meaningful action. Our discussions will traverse the complex relationship between power, principles, and pragmatism. We will examine the evolving roles of China, for example, and India in shaping global South aspirations, the future of ASEAN's numerous institutions, the re-emergence of nuclear considerations in strategic thinking, and the growing significance of critical minerals, economic resilience, and secure supply chains. These are not merely issues to be observed. They are arenas in which choices will have to be made, interests pursued, and futures shaped. And it is in those choices that agency ultimately resides. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends, we are fortunate this year to be joined by both the Prime Minister and the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry. We heard from Minister Johari Ghani's evening address and his take on the emerging landscape of international economic diplomacy. Well, indeed, we eagerly await Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's keynote address tomorrow morning, of course, to be followed by a fireside. We thank the Honourable Prime Minister for his unwavering support and firm endorsement of the APR process. I would also like to express my appreciation to all our speakers and instigators. Many have traveled considerable distances to join us, bringing with them diverse perspectives and experiences. Equally, I thank all delegates for your participation. I would like to acknowledge our partners and sponsors whose support has been indispensable in making this gathering possible. I would like to thank the Australian High Commission and the BOAO Forum for Asia for their invaluable support. I would also extend my sincere gratitude to the delegation of the European Union to Malaysia, Embassy of the United States, Embassy of the People's Republic of China, Embassy of Japan, Embassy of the Republic of Korea, the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, and New Zealand's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, allow me to restate why the Asia-Pacific Roundtable not only matters, but matters significantly. We do not convene annually out of habit, or as they say, out of intellectual muscle memory. We do not gather merely to perform the rituals of banal policy discourse, reading from predictable scripts and averse to, as it were, rocking the boat. We gather because formidable challenges demand profound and robust conversations. The Asia-Pacific Roundtable is not intended to be an echo chamber, nor is it an academic exercise detached from reality. Our aspirations is that every participant leaves with a deeper understanding of the strategic pulse of Southeast Asia and the wider Asia-Pacific region. That remains the distinctive contribution of the Asia-Pacific Roundtable process. But understanding alone is not enough. Track 2 diplomacy has value precisely because it occupies a space that official diplomacy often cannot. We understand official positions, yes, indeed we do, but we are not constrained by them. We ask difficult questions in order to get inconvenient answers. We test assumptions and challenge orthodoxies. We propose ideas that may appear politically sensitive today, but they are never frivolous and may well become policy necessities tomorrow. Indeed, if our discussions over the next 2 days merely reproduce so-called official talking points, inundated with pious platitudes in so-called politically correct language, then we will have accomplished very little. I therefore look forward to our speakers and participants engaging openly, challenging prevailing wisdom where necessary, and contributing ideas that move the conversation positively forward. Now, that was the spirit in which the Roundtable was founded some 40 years ago. Inasmuch as what's past is prologue, as they say, or that time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, that is the spirit that has sustained the Roundtable. And indeed, that is a spirit that must continue to guide it. The ball is in our court, or since this is World Cup season, I suppose I should say the ball is in our half. So let's put our best foot forward and get the ball rolling. Thank you.